after a while, that's all that you see. Is that the only way you see?
Hey man, just got the Batman trilogy on Blu-ray. What are you watching? Gattaca. Why? Teacher likes it. Should be a good way to get extra marks before we start. So we're gonna pop this out and watch The Dark Knight, or just see Jude Law commit suicide in the shower? Well, come on, man! I hadn't finished yet. It's been out for like 15 years. Whatever, man. But anyways, today we're supposed to present biodiversity and why it's important. What? That was today? Yeah, you should have gotten the email. Uh-huh. What's The Dark Knight about? Heath Ledger presents a 2-hour infomercial on Pantene while some rich guy contracts throat cancer and goes on a murderous rampage through the city. Sounds awful. Morgan Freeman's in it. Put it in. Biodiversity. It's a term that's thrown around a lot these days by scientists and politicians alike, trying to attract attention to our planet's severe ecological disturbances that we're experiencing today. Very rarely, however, do these people actually take the time to define the word they love to use this much. Biodiversity refers to the number, variety, and genetic variation of different organisms found within a specified geographic region. Basically, areas with high biodiversity, such as the Amazon rainforest, the island of Madagascar, or the Indonesian archipelago, are inhabited by a very rich, wide array of species, whereas areas with low biodiversity, such as most tundra and desert ecosystems, may contain only a small handful of important organisms. There are 3 main types of biodiversity for ecologists to consider when talking about the environment as a whole: genetic, species, and ecosystem diversity. Genetic diversity, the most fundamental of the 3, describes the variation among the genetic makeup of individuals within a single species. Species with low genetic diversity are more susceptible to extinction, simply because they do not have the range in genes necessary to adapt to selective pressures. Genetic engineering and monocultures in agriculture are 2 examples of humans forcing nature into a strict set of guidelines. Without the ability to vary, evolve, and adapt, plants grown in single-crop environments run the risk of encountering deadly strains of pests who can easily wipe out the entire population. Species diversity, generally, describes the variety of species within an ecosystem. This is typically what we think of by the term biodiversity, and it's important for one main reason. Ecosystems, such as those of the Arctic tundra, are not what we would call ecologically stable, and this is because they lack a reasonable level of species biodiversity. Fewer than 2,000 species of vascular plants and only a few dozen species of mammals inhabit the far northern ecosystems, mostly due to a lack of suitable climate conditions. This makes these communities very vulnerable to collapse, as the loss of a single species could topple the food web. In contrast, habitats with a wide range of species can fill up vacancies in the chain of life with a much smoother transition. A small, insignificant, rare species of insect going extinct in Indonesia would likely have little to no effect on an environment with such high biodiversity. Ecosystem biodiversity is the highest form of natural variety, and describes the diversity of ecosystems around the planet. If the red sands of Mars could be considered an ecosystem, then the whole body would consist of just one massive habitat, leading to an inherently small level of biodiversity. Tropical to temperate areas exhibit the largest number of different habitats. The southern United States is a mix of montane, scrub, desert, and wetland ecosystems, as well as several diverse river, coastal, and deep-sea environments. This variety in the individual ecosystems of an area increases the species diversity of an entire region by providing greater ecological room for communities to grow. And there you have it, a brief overview of biodiversity. But why is biodiversity so important, I hear you say? An excellent question. Why do we need all of these different species on Earth, and why is it important to have ecosystems with high levels of biodiversity? To answer these inquiries, we'll need to take a trek into the wild.
I'm Ryan Conrad, and this is Ryan vs. Wild. It's freezing out here. I'm simply amazed that any organisms at all could call this place home. But indeed, there are certain hardy species of plants, animals, and other life forms that make their living in this harsh climate. To explore this wonderful wilderness, all I've been given by my team to survive is this Starbucks gift card and a small replica paperweight of a beaver. As always, it's going to be difficult to get by. But for the sake of the planet, I'll find a way. A big reason why biodiversity is so significant is that it helps protect ecosystems from disturbances. Now, these disturbances can be anything from small tremors to diseases to full-blown meteorite impacts. These events have the potential to wipe out many different species entirely, and that would be devastating in an environment as sparse as this. Take the beaver, for example. In wetlands and forest ecosystems, the beaver builds reservoirs for fish and amphibians to live in, it clears trees to provide grazing room for larger mammals, and it is eaten by predators as a source of food. If this one animal, for example, were to go extinct, it would have massive repercussions for the rest of the habitat. In a more diverse region, such as a tropical forest, such an extinction would be less disruptive. But biodiversity isn't just important to the ecosystems it represents. It also has practical uses for us humans. Thousands of foods and medicines are derived directly or indirectly from plants, animals, fungi, and other life forms. We, as a species and a civilization, depend on different types of trees to build furniture or houses. We rely on livestock and crops to feed our people, especially in developing countries, and some of our greatest strides in healthcare have been made up with the help of natural organisms.
Healthy ecosystems also present a financial advantage. Though it's true that sustainable, eco-friendly practices can cost more in the short run, the services provided to us by healthy ecosystems are valued at over $46 trillion a year. In a world where the global economy is only about 50% greater than this, diverse ecosystems would seem to be in our best interest.
The wild is beautiful and fascinating. Ecotourism provides the basis of the economy for many countries, such as Kenya, and gives the general public a good look at how startling nature can be. From towering cacti in Arizona to the delicate coloring of queen angelfish in the West Atlantic, beautiful visuals like these can often do nothing less than amaze us.
Biodiversity is healthy for life and helpful for us, but there's perhaps a more important aspect of life's varied state. It's been predicted that there are over 8 million forms of eukaryotic life that exist on Earth today, with each and every one of them standing as a testament to our planet's most special trait.
Nowhere else in the universe have we found evidence of life, and certainly nothing as complex and with as much diversity as we see here on Earth. Life's legacy is embodied by millions of different organisms, from small protists to great whales, and we owe it to ourselves and to our planet to try to keep it alive.
Are you starting to get the picture? Yeah, biodiversity is a pretty big deal here on Earth, as you might have guessed, but as beneficial as it is to us humans, we seem to be oddly obsessed with wrecking it.
Modern civilization places enormous pressures on the planet and its inhabitants to provide for the 7 billion or so of us who seem to love non-renewables as much as we do. Even the resources that are replaceable are being used up at an unsustainable rate, and from an ecological standpoint, this is disastrous.
There are more individual species living in 1 hectare of Amazonian rainforest than there are in Europe. Like the continent. Surprised? This goes back to that species diversity point, and how areas with ideal climate conditions are more able to support large groups of plants and animals.
People clear approximately 8,000 hectares of forest per day to make room for cattle pastures and crop fields. Think of it this way. Every single day, we wipe out the equivalent of 8,000 Europes in terms of rainforest species diversity.
Not to make us all feel guilty, but there are literally thousands of ways that humans are decimating biodiversity around the world.
We pollute the air, sea, and soil with non-biodegradable trash and dangerous chemicals. We clear forests and create deserts, transforming lush landscapes into barren, unproductive fields. Our overhunting and overfishing of several major ecosystems is wiping out countless species of endangered birds, mammals, and fish, and upsetting the trophic levels in practically every habitat.
Our actions, both direct and indirect, are severely impacting biodiversity around the world, and have led to the prediction that over half of currently existing species will be extinct in less than 100 years. So, what are we doing to prevent this?
The United Nations declared the years 2011 through 2020 the Decade on Biodiversity, in an effort to spread awareness and to reduce the loss of ecological diversity, but it doesn't take a big group of people to change the course of human events.
Doing simple things to keep your own environment clean and healthy can make an enormous difference. Want to participate in biodiversity conservation? Try just using less electricity or even planting a garden. Attitude is everything when approaching ecology, but it's all worth it to keep life on Earth spinning around. So whether you're an international organization promoting ecological sustainability for the entire Earth, or a single person doing your bit in protecting our amazingly varied and incredibly beautiful ecosystems, Biodiversity is truly the prized gem on our special blue and green planet, and it's something that everybody is a part of.
Every hero has a journey. Every journey, an end.
Batman?
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Where did you come from?
I could do those things, because I'm not a hero.
Not a hero? We were doing a thing on ecology.
Gotham deserves to need a true hero.
Hero, yep, I don't get how...
Not the hero it thinks it needs to deserve, but a hero for Gotham.
I'm just gonna go.
Because I'm a silent guardian, a watchful protector.
What does this have to do with biodiversity?
The Dark Knight.